All right, this one-step inequalities worksheet that we're doing is going to help us review for the quiz tomorrow, and I'm going to do the odd numbers with you, and we'll start with Ashlyn. Ashlyn, you haven't looked at this problem yet, so if you could tell me what we're going to do to both sides, that'd be great. That's right. Yeah, we're going to put a +7 on both sides, and like to think of it as a +7, because when I think about it as a +7, Ashlyn, does -12 and +7 join forces or go to war? Who wins the war? By how much? Good job. Excellent start. All right, so I know it's kind of hard. You have to write tiny, but if you could put the work up there, or if you want to put the work down below, that's fine too. But probably need to write the answer underneath just because there's not space to write it on the graph. And then we're going to go ahead and graph this. Rayleigh, would I use an open or closed circle around -5? That's correct. Where would I find -5 on this graph? Between what two numbers? Good. So, yeah, so open circle there. And then Rayleigh, one more question. Is x bigger or smaller than -5? Perfect. I'm going to shade to the left then. All the small numbers will always be on the left. And you can see they're more negative here, which means they're getting smaller. All right, number 1's done. I'm doing the odds with you. So number 3 is our next problem. Number 3, Maddie Cheeseman, what do I do to both sides to get the n by itself? Okay. Maddie, -14 and +6 join forces or go to war? Good. Who wins the war? By how many? Good job. Okay. Got my work, got my answer. Parker, do I put an open or closed circle around -8? Close. Good. Yep, we have the equal bar. Anytime you have that equal bar underneath the sign, you got to close the circle in. And then is n bigger or smaller, Parker? Smaller. So I shade to the left. Good. Easy enough. Number 5. Hannah Lindley, what do I do to both sides? All right, add 17. Hannah, does a +17 and a -16 join forces or go to war? Who wins the war? By, good job, positives by 1. Aiden, do I put an open or a closed circle around that one? Good. Is A bigger or smaller? So I shade to the, good. Shade to the right. Number 7. Ella, what do I need to do to both sides? Subtract 3. So I put a -3 and a -3. Question, do I flip the sign when I put a -3 on both sides? No, I do not. I only flip the sign when I'm multiplying or dividing, and only then if it's by a negative number. Never when I'm adding or subtracting. So none of these problems so far have even been multiplying or dividing problems. So I haven't had to worry about flipping any of them. Ella, does -9 and -3 join forces or go to war? Hey, they join forces to make -12. Yep, more negatives. Okay. Maddie Yentes, open or closed circle around the -12? Close it. Is V bigger or smaller? So shade to the left. Number 9, now we're into multiplying and dividing. Now remember, when I'm multiplying and dividing, I'm not going to put the opposite number underneath. I'm going to put the opposite operation. So this is multiplying, squeeze together. I'm going to put divide. But I'm not going to divide by 3. I'm not putting the opposite number. I'm putting the same number underneath. So I'm going to divide by 3. I just said not to do that. I'm going to divide by -3. Divide by -3. Georgia, when I divide by -3, 2 things are going to happen. First of all, does the sign flip on this one? Yes or no? Yes, it does flip. When you're dividing by a negative, it will flip. Secondly, what is 3 divided by -3? -1. Yeah, you can actually go through this entire worksheet before you do any more problems, and you could tell me which ones you're going to have to flip on. just by looking to see, as you can tell here, there's a negative with the variable term, which means we're going to have to either multiply or divide, in this case divide, to get rid of that negative by a negative. Anytime I do that, I have to flip. So that being said, before I flip it over, there's one more problem on the front side of this worksheet that I'm going to have to flip on. Can you tell me which number it is? Branson? Number 12. Nice job. Number 12, I would have to flip on because there's a negative with my variable term. So I'm either going to be multiplying or dividing by -9, which means I have to flip the sign. That's right. So you can actually tell before you even start the problem if you're going to have to flip it or not. Number 11 is not one that I have to flip on. It's not if this number is negative, it's if this number is negative. Is there a negative with the variable term? In this case, no, there's not. So I'm not going to have to flip on number 11. Branson, what do I do to get rid of the divide by 4? Multiply by 4. Georgia, you have a question? You're right. We need to go back and do that. That's right. Should I use an open or closed circle around the -1? Open circle. Is X bigger or smaller? Smaller, so we're going to shade to the left. Okay. All right, back to number 11. Branson, -4 times +4 is? Excellent. And remember, we're not flipping the sign here because we were just multiplying by 4. Doesn't matter that there was a -4 over on this side. That negative doesn't matter. So, Ashlyn, do I put an open or closed circle around the -16? Good. Is K bigger or smaller? So shade to the, good job. All right, we're done with the front side. Well, the odd numbers on the front side. So we're actually 1/4 of the way done. And so far, the only one we've had to flip on has been this one, number 9 so far. So it's not every problem we're flipping on. So please don't do that on the quiz tomorrow. Don't flip the inequality sign on every problem. Know when to flip it and when not to. Number 13. Number 13, Rayleigh, what do I do to both sides to get in by itself? It's not the 0 that I want to get rid of. It's the 7. And what's that 7 doing to the end? Squeeze next to it like that. Good. And so the opposite would be 2. 5. Yep. Now, is there a rule that says you have to flip the sign when you're dividing by a positive? Nope. So I'm not going to flip the sign here. I'm going to leave the n on the right side. I'm going to leave the sign as it is. And then Rayleigh, 0 divided by 7. Still 0. Yeah, take nothing, split it 7 ways, it's still nothing. Maddie Cheeseman, do I want to put an open or closed circle around the 0? Closed. And is n bigger or smaller? Smaller, so shade to the left. Good. Number 15. Parker, tell me what to do to both sides. Perfect. Parker, is there a rule that states when I divide by a negative number that I have to flip the sign? Yes, there is a rule for negative numbers. When I'm multiplying or dividing by negative, yes. So now it's going to be X is greater than, and then Parker, you can use your calculator for this. We know 2 negatives make a positive, but can you tell me what 156 divided by 13 is? Well, it helps when you have your calculator out, right? 12. There we go. X is greater than 12. Hannah Lindley, do I use an open or closed circle? Open. And is X bigger or smaller, Hannah? Bigger. So shade to the good. Number 17, Aiden, tell me what to do to both sides. Yeah, so we're back to adding and subtracting right now. At least they're starting to mix it up a little bit. So now I'm not going to be flipping anytime I add or subtract. It's only when I multiply and divide by negatives. Aiden, do I join forces or go to war with that -8 and +3? Who wins the war? By how much? Good job. Ella, do I use an open or closed circle around the -5? Is V bigger or smaller? So shade to the left. Good job. Number 19, Maddie Yentes, what do I do to both sides? Okay, either way, I like it. N is going to stay on that side, and then 25 minus 13. 12. Good job. All right, so there's my answer. Georgia, do I put an open or closed circle around the 12? Closed, good. It's got the equal bar. And then Georgia is in bigger or smaller? So shade to the left. Good job. Yep, smaller is always to the left, larger is always to the right. If it doesn't look like it's getting smaller, it might be because there's negatives there and it actually is getting smaller. Number 21. Branson, tell me what I have to do to both sides. Add 4, okay. What's a -3 and a +4 make? -1? Negative or +1? +1, that sounds better, okay. Is that what you said? Okay, I just misheard. You changed it, okay. And then Ashlyn, do I use an open or closed circle around 1? Is X bigger or smaller? Are you sure? Bigger? So shade 2, is it? Is the sign wanting to eat the X or eat the 1? So X is bigger. So yeah, it's bigger. And if it's bigger, do we want to shade to the right or to the left? It's good. Let's try. All right, and the last one I'm going to do with you is number 23, and then you guys will get 10 minutes of work time. Number 23, Rayleigh. This 12 is being multiplied to the end. What's the opposite of that? Good. Rayleigh, is there a rule that states when I divide by a positive number that I have to flip the sign? No, just when dividing by negatives. And so you can tell there was no negative with the variable term. It was just a +12, so I'm not going to flip this one. Rayleigh, you can use your calculator if you want to, or maybe you have it memorized, but what's 84 divided by 12? More than that.
6.
More than that.
7.
Where's your calculator?
I lost it.
Hey, grab one. You'll want it. It is 7. 12 times 7 is 84. And so 84 divided by 12 then would be 7. Maddie Cheeseman, opened or closed circle around the 7? Closed. And is in bigger or smaller? Shade to the, good job. So it might be beneficial, since we've already looked on the front side at the problems you have to flip the sign on, maybe look at the back side. I'm not going to tell you which two, but there are 2 even problems on the back side that you will have to flip the sign on. If the variable term is negative, you have to flip the sign. That doesn't mean if it's being subtracted by something. No, that doesn't matter. Adding and subtracting problems, I never flip the sign on. Only if it's being multiplied or divided by a negative number, we'll have to flip the sign. You guys have 10 minutes, 11 minutes. See if you can knock out 11 or more of the even problems. If you can knock out 12 of the even problems, then that would mean you're done. Because there's only 12 problems left.